game for recklessly making contact with her fist to the throat area of Indiana's Caitlin Clark in their game last night. I'm Isaac Lowenkron.
Broadcasting live from the KGSO studios in West Wichita.
I feel more informed when I listen.
This is the Press Box on Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
The Press Box on KGSO.
Let's do this thing, Wichita. Here in the ICT, it is the Press Box on KGSO in the Civic First Council Casino Hotel and Resort Studios. Jacob Zimmerman, Sasha Bushka inside the Civic First Council Casino Hotel and Resort Studios. Give the show a call on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines, 316-522-1410. Over the next 2 hours, we are going to get into, we got NBA trade news today. LaMelo Ball is on the move to Minnesota. Man, he's going to the T-Wolves, man. He's leaving the Charlotte Hornets. We'll talk NFL Top 100. Creed Humphrey, I'm hearing the Chiefs center is on the list. Got to dive into that. The NFL Comprehensive Coverage Series in the AFC South will resume with the Jacksonville Jaguars around 5 o'clock. We'll talk with Paul Suellentrop, senior communicator from WSU. After that, around 5:30. To kick off the show, I figured we would just kind of revisit Shocker basketball when we've had a lot of these transfer portal players, these pickups. We were hitting on them several weeks back. I figured we can sort of recap it a little bit today and maybe a slower day in the sports world. Sasha, how you doing, man?
I'm feeling great. I'm checking out the streams, playing around a little bit. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on X. They're all running right now. So get out there and check us out in all those places. Drop comments. I can see them all in one place as well, and reply to you on multiple platforms from one place.
Let's go.
I'm excited for today, man. Shocker basketball, what more could you want to talk about? If we're starting with Shocker hoops, it doesn't get any better for me.
All right, let's go to the phones here, courtesy of Maximum Outdoor Equipment. You are on the Press Box. How are you?
Hi, JC. Hi, Sasha. This is Corey. How are y'all? Y'all doing okay?
You know how Sasha is. I'm with him, man. I'm excited for this upcoming season.
Hey, let's keep the conversation going about Shocker basketball. Who returned this year?
Who returned
JC?
this year? The most of the team. Most of the team.
Most
Let's
of the
see.
team.
You got T.J. Williams. You got Dylan Batiste.
Yeah.
You've got Will Berg. Even Jarrett Valencia, can't forget about him. Noah Hill, Tyrus Rathan Mays, Mike Gray Jr.'s coming back, Kuznard, Thingvall, and Joy. I think that's all your returners.
And then that young man that played at East Carolina, he's on the staff. He's on the basketball team too, and big 6'11".
Yeah,
Sierra Malonga.
Yeah,
that would be the name.
I met him. Sasha, I've already met him in person. He's real nice gentleman, and he's a real good kid.
You're just out cruising the city, finding Shocker basketball players. Corey, where did you meet Sear?
No, he was at my church. He knows one of my church members' kid, and he was at my church and shaked his hand, told him to come back, and I believe he's a good kid.
I'll tell you what,
really
you want a center that's humble, that's a great guy, super nice, away from the floor, but then when he's on the floor, you want him to be a little mean and nasty.
He's focused.
Yeah.
He's focused on the basketball. And I looked at him and was like, oh, I know he is, because like you said, he's away from basketball. He's a nice gentleman, but when he's on that court, it's a whole different ballpark, Derry, and I'm glad to see they're all coming back. And one more thing, when's the TBT start?
July 20th, Corey.
Oh man, I want to give a shout out to all the fans that come to it. Thank you so much for coming to it. We won the championship last year. I've been here 6 years now, JC, and they finally won it last year. I was jumping for glory, y'all.
About time the Shockers are City of Champions again, man. The Aftershocks.
Just I'm glad they're bringing it here, but they're doing it different, JC. They're doing like a 3-game set, but if they win the first 2 and everything, and they go to the next round and host the next round.
A little bit more security in that first round for the disaster, and you're, of course, facing off against the New Mexico alumni from Charles Koch Arena. Corey, we appreciate the call.
You too. You too, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. 522-1410. Follow Corey up on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone line. Today you got Dexter Dennis joining the squad. We kind of mentioned towards the end of yesterday's show, you got Frank Camp, Trey Wade, Rashard Kelly all coming back to the squad as well. But yeah, July 20th and the 23rd, maybe even later on in that week, they'll have a third game if necessary. I got to think the Aftershocks put them away in 2. Stay tuned for the broadcasts here this summer on KGSO and ticket giveaways on the station as well. And you can go to tbthoops.com. But I kind of wanted to go up and down the roster here, Sasha. Let's hit on a player maybe per minute over the next 15 minutes or so here on the press box. Let's go rapid fire with this. I sort of wanted to put players into different categories, different tiers, get an idea of what their impact is going to be, at least from a prediction standpoint. We have not seen this team play yet together, and so it is very early in the offseason still, but I've boiled it down to, are you going to be a conference player of the year candidate like a Kenyon Giles last season? Will you just be an all-conference honors level guy, right, like a Karan Boyd? Will you be a quality starter? Will you be a fringe starter / good bench guy, maybe an end-of-rotation piece, or a program building block for the future? So I kind of want to go here, and we got the Shocker roster up on GoShockers.com for the 2026-2027 season. I figure we just go in numerical order here. Sasha, you ready to go?
I'm ready, man. I'm fired up. It looks like we got number 0 first. So, yeah, let's go.
Desmond Jones.
It's not really a number. 0.
I guess so. It's becoming more and more popular. And
yeah,
if you wear 0, you're more likely to tear your Achilles. But besides that, coming from Blinn, started all 30-win games. JUCO, 2.1 steals per game for Desmond Jones. Slightly undersized as a guard at 5'11", 166. I think when you are one of the last guys to get picked up in the portal, coming over from JUCO, the responsibility maybe isn't going to be high as some of these other transfer portal pickups. I'll put Jones in the building block category.
Yeah, I agree. Building block, right? I don't know that he's going to do a whole lot this year with the guards in front of him, but he's a guy who's capable of being a rotation piece if someone goes down in front of him or if he just outplays someone, but probably a piece for the future for the most part.
All right, let's go to Bryce Hurd. He'll wear number 1 for the Shockers, coming over from Dayton, 6'5", 205, junior wing. He was a former 4-star high school prospect, and you pull up his tape, he likes to spot up and shoot some threes, and so I think that can work beautifully for this roster in terms of fit. I think Bryce Hurd is going to get some real run this season. I think he's actually going to be a pretty darn good bench guy, maybe even 6th man, maybe even start a few games. I'll put Bryce Hurd in that fringe starter good bench category.
Yeah, he's going to be somewhere in that range. Probably not a starter, just to start things off. Right. Presuming that T.J. Williams and Dylan Batiste both start this year. So fringe starter, good bench guy is probably the place for him. But he could turn into like more of that quality starter type for you. He could also swing down to like an end of the rotation piece. But he's not just a guy you're looking at for the future. You expect him to help this year.
All right, going up to number 2, Jarrett Valencia. He was on the squad last season. Only played, I want to say, about 10 games, and he tore his Achilles somewhere around December. I think there's a real world where Valencia, by the time he's healthy, this team is far enough along where it's maybe not worth integrating him into the roster unless he's super impressive. I'm for now going to put him in the program building block category. Valencia.
He probably falls in there just because of the injury status. Kind of start out in the end of the rotation if he does come back, but but more of a future piece that hopefully has a good year available to him after this year. Although he is listed on the roster as a redshirt senior, which would mean they'll need him to participate this year or not participate at all and get another year of eligibility for next year.
And with the ever-so-changing landscape in college basketball, college football, like the 5 to play 4, who knows if that's going to make an impact here in the near future. But let's go over to number 4, TJ Williams, returning stud here on this roster. And we talk about the potential with the three-point growth, but even if you just look at what TJ gave you in the second half of last season, conference tournament, conference play here in the American, I think TJ Williams will be an all-conference honors level player. Whether that's honors, whether that's third or second team, he's going to be in the mix.
Yeah, he'll be in the mix, right? I think that's probably like on the high end of what you would expect from TJ Williams. At least a quality starter. We already know that. Even if he doesn't start, he's at quality starter level. But the all-conference honors is what you would hope for from TJ Williams.
I got a really good feeling about Jordan Friesen, man. Number 5, like his efficiency when you have a true shooting percentage like at 65%. I know maybe the highest of quality of competition wasn't there at his most recent stop, but I still think Friesen's going to be probably the best player on this year's team. That might be a hot take to some. I think even with his production at Chattanooga, 16 points per game, I mentioned the efficiency. I think he'll be right up there with TJ as a player who's certainly in the running to make all-conference honors, and I see him. Like, I know there's a lot of talk about him getting the teammates involved. I see him maybe even being the leading scorer on this year's team. Yeah,
one thing that impresses me when I look at his stat line, his numbers, his advanced analytics, he shot almost 59.7% from 2 last year, right? Almost 60% from 2 as a small guard to go with his really good 83% free throw percentage and his pretty good three-point percentage as well at 42%. So really at all 3 levels, all 3 that you're looking at, he had really high percentages for a small guard and a really good assist rate, top 100 in the country. So there's no limit to what he could do. Now, I am not going to go all the way to like conference player of the year candidate. I'll go to all conference honors type candidate just because I think like candidate is one thing, but to actually win Conference Player of the Year, like if Kenyon Giles couldn't win Conference Player of the Year last year, I just don't know that I'm going to put anyone in that category on this year's team.
Right. Giles is kind of the example. He was close, but not quite good enough to beat out Isaiah Nelson for Player of the Year. But if you're a candidate, I think that's a tier above just being all-conference. So let's go to the phones. We're going rapid fire here with the Shocker basketball team going through each player, but we have time for a quick call here in the press box. How are you?
Yeah, good. How you guys doing?
Good. What's up, Mark?
So I can sum up, the NBA draft, it wasn't like a big epiphany, like I didn't know this already, but, being a KU guy, I can sum up college basketball in one word. And, again, I'm a KU guy. My word for college basketball, garbage. Just garbage. Why am I watching if it's just, Ladunga and Tiller, great year at KU, they both transfer out. Darren Peterson just, passing through for a cup of coffee, just like Andrew Wiggins passed through for 1 year a few years ago. If I just watch this Knicks NBA playoff with the Spurs, the Knicks, the Cavaliers, the Thunder, and they had all these great 5 and 7 game series, why am I going to turn into the tournament next? But then at the end of the NBA season, players are traded around, they move around the league, they're moving around from team to team, but they're still playing basketball at the highest level. Why am I going to sit there and watch the tournament, just a one and done, guy loses, he's out, and then he's off to the NBA tournament? What's the compelling argument to watch that stuff?
It's a good question, Mark. I think if you're either an NBA fan or you're not, Mark. But we're going to get back to Shocker Talk. We appreciate the call. Call next segment. We're getting more into the NBA then.
I'll give a quick response. You can't complain about the NIL and complain about one and done in the same breath because the NIL makes for less one and dones. It makes for less. It keeps more guys in college basketball than before. The one and dones has been there for 25 years. So they're 2 completely separate arguments. But let's talk about Pierre Cousinard.
Redshirt freshman out of Houston, Texas. I think Pierre is still a year or two away from really making an imprint on this basketball team. From all accounts, he seems like a well-liked player inside the organization, but I think realistically, program building block is probably the tier he falls into.
Yeah, I agree, right? That program, there's some overlap between like end of the rotation piece and program building block. And there's a couple guys that'll probably go into that other one, but program building block means they might be a big piece of the rotation at some point in the future.
Right.
Whereas into the rotation piece, which is kind of what you are if you're a program building block, but it doesn't mean you'll always be there. So I'll go program building block as well.
All right, going up to Dylan Batee. Dylan Batee, I'm sort of torn back and forth between whether it could be all conference honors or a quality starter. I'll go quality starter for now for Batee. I think even with what he did last year towards the end of the season, kind of like TJ, there was maybe enough in the whole at the beginning of the year. I mean, there was games where, Valencia's getting minutes over him. He was in single digits in minutes. Batee's going to have a lot more of an opportunity here this season. But him jumping from like a 7-point per game guy across the entire year to like a 14, 15 point per game guy, that's a massive jump. I think he's maybe more in the 12 to 13 range, and that's probably a little bit short of being all conference honors. I'll say you're a quality starter, Dylan Batee.
So where I'll go here is I think most people would say that they think there's more juice in Dylan Batee than TJ Williams in terms of a potential all-conference player. So I don't know if you want to – we already both put TJ Williams in the all-conference candidate category. I would put him somewhere in between quality starter and all conference for TJ Williams. So I'm going to put Batee in the all conference candidate category.
I'll move him up, man.
What we saw, and we don't both have to have the exact same list, but I think what we saw down the stretch of last year is Batee might be our most offensively talented front court player that we have. And when you consider the fact that he's a true front court player versus TJ Williams kind of being a tweener, right? Dylan Batee's 6'8", he's a true power forward, might develop a three-point shot this offseason. I don't think TJ Williams will. So this is not to throw shade at TJ, but I'd put Batee just like a step in front of TJ Williams right now. And so I have to give him that like potential all-conference nod. If he plays the way he did down the stretch last year, I think he could easily make an honorable mention, a third team, a second team, something like that in the American this year.
I think the way TJ closed some of these games really sticks out to me as well, and I'll kind of just go back to a cliche talking point from last season as far as you had a battle with your third and fourth best player for the same position, right? And often you're playing these pivotal games. It's the best five on the best five. The Shockers couldn't realistically do that. They felt like with their lineup and the personnel and the skills there with Batee and the weaknesses, of course, with both of those guys, Batee and TJ. So, yeah, we can move them up to a potential all-conference levels guy. I think if the Shockers have the season that we think they are, right, there maybe is a world where you got a TJ and a Friesen and a Batee.
And it doesn't mean every single guy is going to make all-conference. I look at it as like going into the season, would you be surprised if they did? And so I think there might be 3 or 4 guys that fit into that category on this team, and we'll see as we continue to go through the list.
All right, might have to continue some of this on the other side, but we have Michael Gray Jr. Guys, there's a world where if Mike Gray Jr. finds his three-point rhythm once again, he is going to be one of the best bench guys in the AAC. Of course, he was a starter this past season, but I think when you bring in a Friesen and a Jahari Long with his experience, and then Friesen with the star factor, I think that kind of makes sense as to why Mike Gray goes to the bench. If Mike Gray's coming off the bench, I think he's a pretty good bench guy, maybe a fringe starter.
Yeah, I'm fine putting him in the fringe starter, good bench guy category, right? I think he's at least that. I don't know if he's going to start or not, but I think what you hope is, even if he is your 6th man or 7th man or whatever the case may be, that he's the level of a starter, right? You want a team, when you're picked to win the conference, you probably have 8 or 9 rotation pieces that are quality starter level that just you can only start 5 guys. But for the purposes of this, we can put him in as a fringe starter, good bench guy. Right. That's fine.
Next guy up, we got Tyrus Rathan-Mays. And for Rathan-Mays, we're kind of going off of the word of Kenyon Giles here, where Rathan-Mays might take a major jump. Look, he was a redshirt this past season. Kind of a highly recruited guy for Wichita State. Toronto, or Ontario, Toronto, in Canada is where he's from and has played ball. So he's a 6'6 guard. He's kind of a bigger guard out there. Maybe he has some wing responsibilities, but I think we're going to see TRM crack the rotation, and he'll be an end-of-rotation piece.
Yeah, and I think with Tyrus Rathan-Mays, the expectation is at least to give you what Brian Amunique did last year, and potentially more. Maybe like crack the actual rotation where he's playing 15, 20 minutes a game on a regular basis. But at least in the rotation, it would be the expectation for Tyrus Rathan-Mays, and I think that's a fair expectation for him heading into this year.
All right, let's move up to Jahari Long. He is one of the oldest players in college basketball. He averaged 12.2 points per game for George Mason. Decent team around the country. Shot 38% from downtown. And from a defensive standpoint, there's real promise that he can kind of be your go-to point of attack perimeter defender on this roster. So I'm going to say Jahari Long is in the category. I don't know if I see enough of a separation from Gray just yet. I'll say he's kind of in that fringe starter, good bench guy category as well.
Yeah, I would go to quality starter with him, but like I think him and Gray, right, you could toggle those back and forth, just like we talked about with TJ Williams and Dylan Battie, which one's the all-conference level, which one's more the quality starter level. So I could go either way with those two guys, but when you look at Jahari Long from a shooting perspective compared to Michael Gray from last year, Jahari Long's effective field goal percentage last year was 53.5%. That's right in the same range as Kenyon Giles was last year, on less volume, of course, but he also had a top 300 assist rate in the country. So there's a potential where you have him and Friesen starting, and it's like you have 2 point guards on the floor that also are very efficient shooting the ball.
I think Friesen's going to have a lot of eyeballs looking right at him, in the game, controlling the rock. And Long might be a little bit more of a combo guard, can spot up, can maybe run a second unit if he needs to set up a couple pick and rolls.
Him or one of him or Gray are going to start, if not all three of those guys. I don't see a world where like neither Jahari Long or Michael Gray are starting.
All right, let's get to the next player here. 12, Joy Igavoja. Joy, I think he's going to go once again into the program building block category. We have not seen his minutes really take an increase here in his time at WSU. I was thinking maybe there was a world where he transferred over the offseason, but Joy, he redshirted. He's played 27 games, 145 minutes total over the last 2 years, or in 2 years.
There's almost needs to be another category, right? Like, I don't see Joy as a long-term help to this team, but he's not an end-of-rotation piece. Like, he's not going to be in the rotation, I don't think. I would put him and Henry Thingvall kind of in the same category, which is like good guys to have on the team, good teammates, but probably aren't program building blocks for the future or end-of-rotation pieces. But, yeah, you got to throw them in somewhere.
Program building block is a nice way to say they're going to
clap for their teammates.
It up on the bench.
But the first three guys we put into that list, I think, like aren't going to be clapping on the bench forever, and so I would almost want I don't know, but with Rathan-Mays in the into rotation piece, he's a different category. So yeah, however you want to look at it.
We'll get to the last three, the big men. On the other side, oddly enough, all three of your quote unquote centers on the depth chart have the highest numbers on the team. This feels high school-esque.
Yeah, how does that work out? The second highest number on the team is 24. They couldn't afford the bigger numbers, I guess.
Got Will Berg, big 44.
Yeah.
Be funny to see someone wear 99.
Why not?
Rocket, dude.
Wild thing. Charlie Sheen.
We'll be back. It's the Press Box.
This segment of the Press Box is brought to you by Wichita Clear Bra, the ultimate car care and protection. Online at wichitaclearbra.com.
The Press Box on KGSO.
This is The Herd.
You got to be consistent.
With Colin Cowherd.
Mic check. The New York Knicks made to build this team was questioned. I mean, obviously, they fired Tibbs, people weren't sure about that. Go back and look at the columns. The Karl Anthony Towns trade, well, they had to give up Dante DiVincenzo. That didn't go over well. Jalen Brunson free agency, most people thought, why?
This is The Herd.
Weekdays at 11 a.m. right here on KGSO and on the SC Wichita app.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. Hog Wild, get some for you.
If the week's been too hectic to even think about dinner, or your family can't handle one more night of leftovers, then it's time to let Hog Wild do the cooking. Hog Wild's family packs are one heck of a good deal for a complete barbecue meal. Here's Josh Nicolette, Hog Wild partner and general manager at Harry and Rock Road.
When you stop by for a Hog Wild family pack, we'll send you home with all the smoked meats, tasty sides, buns, and sauces you need to feed your family a complete meal. And best of all, family packs are priced right to feed groups of 4, 8, 12, or 16 people.
Order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue, 6 locations in Wichita, also in Derby, El Dorado, Hutchinson, and Salina.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. Hog Wild, get some for you. But don't be late, we close at 8.
Hi, this is Brian Davis with Davis Liquor Outlet. And this is Blake Davis with a deal on Modelo Oro 24 packs, just $24.99. And Casa Amigos Reposado 750 ml, only $34.99. Davis Liquor Outlet, each store independently owned and operated. Neighborhood locations with superstore pricing.
KGSO Studio presented by Seven Clans Casino, Hotel and Resort. It pays to cross the line. Wichita's home for sports talk, going 20 years strong. This is KGSO.
Black is my favorite color. Makes me feel like we know each other. Blank tapes and posters on the door. Listen to my Pink Floyd cover. Take a seat like a backbeat lover. Mixtapes and cushions on the floor. I saw my bed and not my stereo. I saw my bed and not my stereo.
Welcome on back to the Press Box on KGSO. Phone lines on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment hotlines. Call the show, 522-1410. Guys, going over the Shocker roster for the 2026-2027 men's basketball season. We have hit on a lot of the guards, a lot of the forwards, and we got to resume here going through the big men. We are classifying these players into different categories, tiers, if you will. Will we have a Conference Player of the Year candidate? Maybe not this time around. All conference honors levels, we think TJ, we think Friesen, we think Batik can all fit this category. Quality starter, we are going to fill that role here in a moment. Fringe starters, good bench guys, maybe that's Hurd, maybe that's Gray, maybe that's Jahari Long. Tyrus Rathan Mays, an end of rotation piece and building blocks for the future. We covered some of those guys as well. Sasha, resuming
I don't know
here.
if we are going to fill the quality starter role. We might not have anyone fall into that. That's why I would probably like to move Gray and Jahari Long into the quality starter role if I was doing it. But it's kind of fringe starter / good bench guy is very similar to that category. But yeah, it's fine for now because I'm thinking one level higher for Wilberg.
Oh, we'll get to him here in just a moment. Who's probably more intriguing, and if you say the name, Devin Slang's going to pop up out of nowhere, right? Noah Hill. Last season with Wichita State. Look, a guy kind of from the backyard a little bit with Sunrise Christian Academy, but originally from Frisco, Texas. Look, as far as Noah Hill on the basketball floor, it's tough to really judge a guy who appeared in 4.2 minutes per game, and most of that was at the end of these games. Some of it, like very few, was in a critical situation where he's just like thrust onto the court due to foul trouble. And so it's tough to really grade Noah Hill's season last year at Big 22. I'm going to say the category for Noah Hill an end of rotation piece. What do you think?
I'm actually hoping it's better than that. I'm like, and I'll look at these three big guys as a whole, and especially these next two, Noah Hill and Sear Malonga. I'm hoping that Noah Hill is your second center and Sear Malonga is your third center, right? And whoever is the second center needs to be a fringe starter / good bench guy, right? You're not only going to play one center. So I'm looking at into rotation pieces as guys who kind of get in every once in a while. So if it was me, I'd put Berg into the all conference honors level as like which coincides with being a quality starter, obviously.
True.
And then I'd put Noah Hill into the fringe starter, good bench guy, and I'd put Sear Malonga into the end of rotation piece. I wouldn't have them both as end of rotation pieces, but hey, differing and I'm kind of looking at this as like looking at everybody's ceiling, kind of taking them a step higher than maybe you would otherwise. But anyway you slice it, it looks like we've got about 10 guys that'll be competing for playing time, and 4 of them maybe that could be all conference level players, and probably 5 or 6 that you think you want to start, right? 5, 6, or 7 that you want to start, and then 3 out of the 10 that are they're either going to be a big part of the rotation or a little part of the rotation.
The blueprint for Sear Malonga and Noah Hill is the Emmanuel Okorafor role from last season, where he actually did start the season as the center. He was the starting center for a lot of these games. But Will Berg, we know, was the best 5 on the roster, and he played in the most pivotal situations. He played more minutes than Okorafor. It's tough for me to see Noah Hill quite filling those shoes just yet, where you think he's going to get some starts this season. I think Sear Malonga is probably in that same category for me, as well as like an end of rotation piece. Now, end of rotation, that still means guys who can play 10 to 15 minutes, right? Like it's still like your 9 and 10 out there. It's like your program building blocks are more your 12 through 15 guys you won't really see unless disaster situations. I'm willing to put Berg as well. I think we do have 4 guys. Like Will Berg technically already was all conference last year.
He was sixth man of the year. Yeah, so I'll break it down this way: is like Berg's going to be your number 1 center, at least heading into the season, and Hill and Malonga are going to be fighting for 2 and 3. And at the center position, a third center does play in some games, depending on foul trouble. But the second center is the one you want out there when Berg's not out there, and so they're going to be battling it out for that spot.
I see Noah Hill like slightly undersized for the American at 6'8", 236. Sear Malonga is listed at 6'11", and just pulling up some of his highlights, he's got a little bit of, maybe not quite to the production, but he resembles a Quincy Ballard with his play style.
Yeah, I think one thing that maybe helps Noah Hill in terms of size is that the roster as a whole won't be as undersized as it was last year, I don't think. At certain spots, right? There was times where we had T.J. Williams playing the 4 a lot of times, right? He was our starting 4 to start the year, and then you had Kenyon Giles out there at 5'9", and at times Drake Kendall out there at 5'9". So it's like it's kind of nice to have a really big center at that point. But I think Noah Hill can hold his own at the 5 and they might toy with like Berg and Hill on the court together every once in a while if you want to go really big. If you put 3 like skilled players around them, just a rebounding lineup, depending on what matchups the other teams give you. So there'll be maybe a little bit more flexibility this year with the lineups.
My only concern at all for Will Berg is the cardio. He played 22 minutes per game last season, and look, when Will Berg was on the floor, he kind of maximized himself, right? You kind of knew he was going to deliver nice, like 5-minute spurts and, crash the glass, get some boards, block a few shots, and just be a big disruptor and screen setter. He did average 9 and 8. And doing that in 22 minutes, you could easily project, okay, if he played 30 minutes per game, that those are numbers that maybe go up to 15 and 12, which would be insane. That would even flirt with, like, player of the year status here in the AAC. But I don't think Will Berg at 7'2" is going to make a drastic difference to his like endurance and his cardio.
Yeah,
he's going to play north of 25 minutes.
He's a thick 7'2" as well, right? I don't know how much he weighs, but I would guess probably about 260, 270. I think jumping from 22 to 25 is definitely possible. I don't think asking for much more on average, right? He'll have a game where he plays 30 minutes, but on average, I don't think jumping much more than 25 minutes a game is very likely.
If you're winning games with Berg playing 22, 23 minutes, that's awesome. I think to Will Berg hitting his absolute peak, the only thing that sets him back is just minutes played. But I think, his minutes really come down to him, not a Paul Mills thing. Devin, it kind of agrees here on Facebook, but you don't want to wait till I see the work. Wait till I see the work that Will Berg's putting in this summer. He hears, Devin does, that he's the first one in the gym. That's awesome.
I don't know if he's talking about Will Berg or Noah Hill because it's a little bit behind, and we were talking about Noah Hill as well. So, Devin, you can let us know on that. But I'm sure they're all putting in a ton of work, hopefully. One thing I will point out, just kind of looking back at some of last year's stats, we bring back most of our contributors from last year, right? Okorafor is not coming back, but I think we amply replaced him with like players. But one thing I will say, Kenyon Giles and Karan Boyd are the two biggest pieces to replace from last year. Okay, he was talking about Berg. They played over 80% of the minutes, both of them last year. The next closest guy was Michael Gray at about 2/3 of the minutes. So those are two guys who almost never came off the floor. So you do have to look at that in terms of minutes, and there'll be a lot of minutes to replace for these guys that are trying to step into bigger roles.
We got guys stepping into bigger roles, going from 9th and 10th guys on the bench to maybe they're 6th or 7th on the bench, and you have players who are the 3rd or 4th best player on the team who are looking to be 1st or 2nd or 3rd. I think Jordan Friesen probably is your lead dog. I think Will Berg really puts it together inside, and the development on the perimeter of TJ and Dylan determines the season.
Yeah, and one of the things Paul Mills has talked a lot about this offseason is kind of intentionally getting guards that could help them play through the front court, where like Berg and Battie and Williams can be big scoring threats because you're not looking at guards who are most effective shooting the ball. They're really effective passing the ball. So I think there is a world where Friesen is your leading scorer and leading assist man, and he's the best player on the team. But there's also a world where they ask Friesen to facilitate a lot, and Dylan Battie's your leading scorer. TJ Williams is your leading scorer. So we'll just have to see how that plays out and see more once these guys get on the court.
All right, I want to change gears here. We're going to stick it on the hardwood, but we're going to move up to the National Basketball Association. Guys, you have the draft, and there's messiness before the draft. There's moves and acquisitions afterward. And over the last 24 hours, we have seen a pivotal team in the Western Conference make a pretty drastic switch up with their talent and personnel. The Minnesota Timberwolves are trading for LaMelo Ball as well as Josh Green from the Charlotte Hornets in exchange for Naz Reid, an unprotected 2033 first-round pick, and then a couple pick swaps. 3 of them even got a second-round pick. The pick swaps kind of explain themselves. You're banking on that other team not having the greatest of selections. I believe there's a lot of details with the pick swaps there. We can get into that here in just a sec. My main take, though, is with LaMelo Ball, guys. LaMelo Ball, I was at a Hornets game in person. This was like 4 years back, and the Pelicans were playing the Charlotte Hornets. It was LaMelo Ball and Lonzo Ball facing off, and a lot has changed since that moment. Lonzo is kind of out of the league right now, and LaMelo, while a lot of casual fans heard about LaMelo taking steps forward this year, guys, that was Con Knipple and the Hornets. That was Brandon Miller. That was the other guys. LaMelo Ball, to me, is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. He deserves to be in the NBA. He deserves to be a starter in this league. But when you shoot 41% from the floor throughout an entire season, I'm not necessarily labeling that as a step up. Now, he was definitely the engine in Charlotte. They're going to have to completely revamp their offense around Con Knipple. And maybe even Naz Reid. I think it's good for the future. I think the best version of the Hornets was always going to be without LaMelo. And now I'm worried for the Timberwolves because, hey, you got Anthony Edwards. And if you kind of know the history with the T-Wolves, Kevin Garnett, he got traded, won a championship. Even Andrew Wiggins got traded, won a championship as the second option. Karl Anthony Towns did the same thing. The writing on the wall is that Ant Edwards is out of Minnesota by 2030.
Yeah, and I'll say this. When I heard the Timberwolves got LaMelo Ball, I didn't completely hate it, right? It's like you obviously need more talent. You don't have enough talent to win the Western Conference right now, and so you need to upgrade there somehow. But I didn't like it near as much when I heard they gave up Naz Reid for him. I like Naz Reid, and I think that's a good addition for Charlotte. And Charlotte was kind of guard heavy, and now they bring in a guy to go with Brandon Miller that's a versatile player that's been a good player in this league. And they drafted Christian Anderson in the first round last night. I don't know that Christian Anderson's going to be great right away, but he's a point guard, right? And so you're kind of changing things up there, and like you said, kind of building around Con Knipple and his skill set and getting more serious as a team maybe too. Right, I don't worry about the Timberwolves and LaMelo so much. Like, they have a veteran head coach. They have Ant Edwards, so I think they'll be able to, like, get some seriousness out of LaMelo and have him be a real basketball player. But if you're Charlotte and LaMelo's like your lead dog and you've never won anything before, I think you're just kind of a joke as long as LaMelo Ball's your lead dog. If LaMelo Ball's just a talented piece on a team like he will be for Minnesota, you're okay.
I think the story writes itself when we're talking about guys as far as like, oh, he's going to be a real basketball player now. Oh, he's not going to be a joke anymore. Like that says a lot. And for the Charlotte Hornets, who kind of just gave the keys to the franchise to LaMelo and said, hey, it's going to be your show. We're already used to not having high team success. For them to lose faith in LaMelo after the season they just had taken a serious stride forward, that kind of screams, hey, maybe there's something else going on behind the scenes. And then you start to think about all these clips of LaMelo as soon as the game's done, and he is just causing havoc in the streets, literally in his car, in his sports car, whatever he's driving, right? And he's just blowing red lights and everything. Like that's not what you want to see. And so I think LaMelo probably had an attitude issue in the locker room, just to guess. I think, look, you got good coaching there with the Timberwolves. Chris Finch is one of the better coaches in the NBA, and the fact that they got Julius Randle, who was a horrible postseason performer, to go over there and actually play well, I think that's the silver lining for LaMelo Ball. But yes, they're going to have some nice athleticism, some length there with McDaniels and Ball, but I think this is a step back for Minnesota. I think it's a step forward for Charlotte.
And Julius Randle's not there anymore as of now, right?
Right.
He's on the Nets, right?
Oh,
in a 3-team
purgatory.
trade. So listen, I like if you're the Timberwolves though, it's like Rudy Gobert's the only big man on your roster, like real big man on your roster. Like, are you just going to play all guards all the time? They have Trey Kaufman-Renn now, I guess. Jaden McDaniels is 6'9", but he doesn't really play as a big man. Here's the question: is Minnesota better today than they were yesterday?
No.
Okay. Is Charlotte better today than they were yesterday?
I think you're going to have to convince the fans, but they'll see it, yes.
Okay. And I think with Charlotte, it might be like a sum of the parts is greater than the individual pieces. With LaMelo, like addition by subtraction.
Yes.
LaMelo out the door maybe makes you better anyways, and the fact that you got Naz Reid too also helps your prospects. So, yeah, I think I like it better for Charlotte.
And you remember Kalkbrenner out of Creighton. He's there
Yes.
too. He's on the squad as well. Maybe a pass-first point guard who is not a team distraction, good locker room, a nice vet. But I do think they have Kobe White sticking around
Charlotte,
as well.
Yeah, and Kobe White has become a player a little bit. Yeah, he's still on their roster.
There you go.
They got to figure out who's going to run the point. It'll be Kobe White, right? They downgraded at point guard, but they might have upgraded everywhere else.
Guys, with the efficiency Con Knipple had, I'm sniffing all-star for Mr. K in the Big 2027. We'll talk NFL Top 100. A Chief is on the list next.
Call the Press Box now on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines at 522-1410.
The Press Box on KGSO.
This is Stu Gatz and Company live.
The audience wants this.
You're listening to Stu Gatz and Company live.
Every game felt like you had a comeback, right?
Yes.
Every game you felt like the underdog at the start and then through the first quarter, and then you came back anyway. That's got to make it feel like doubly amazing if you're a true Knicks fan like yourself, Stu.
Yeah, I'm not certain the Spurs shouldn't have won the series in 4.
Stu Gatz and Company live is right here.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on KGSO and on the SC Wichita app.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Sunshine and savings are here all summer long at Midwest Kia. Happening now. Get an additional $750 off select new Kias during the Summer Sticker Sales event. That's on top of current specials and rebates. And with summer road trips on the horizon, now's the perfect time to upgrade to the 2027 Kia Telluride Hybrid and get up to 35 miles per gallon. Nothing says family-friendly like spacious 3-row seating and fewer stops at the gas station. Looking for something else? We've got you covered. Explore hundreds of other vehicles ready to drive home today. From the sleek and sporty K5 to the adventure-ready Sportage, there's a Kia for every lifestyle. And summer savings to go right along with it. Plus, every new Kia comes with that unbeatable 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Visit MidwestKia.com. And remember,
We want to see ya in a Midwest Kia.
actual gas mileage may vary. With approved credit, see dealer for details. Warranties a limited powertrain warranty.
This is Stu Gatz and Company live.
The audience wants this.
You're listening to Stu Gatz and Company live.
My objection to soccer in the World Cup is, A, there's never goals scored. And so in this particular World Cup, it helps that we have a bunch of goals scored. It helps that the stars are scoring those goals. And, of course, the United States being relevant thus far certainly has piqued my interest, yes.
Stu Gatz and Company live.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on KGSO and on the SC Wichita app.
So what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
20 years of sports talk, and we're still not done. This is Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
Oh, never fear when you got KGSO on your radio. Maybe you got the SC Wichita app going. We are all over the place. Even Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, I hear. Call the show on the Maximum Outdoor. Come in, phone lines 316-522-1410 or comment like Devin just did on one of our platforms, choosing Facebook. You're telling us Ecuador is beating Germany right now in the World Cup.
That's a meaningless result for Germany, but huge for Ecuador because they only had 1 point coming into this. They were 0-1-1 and they probably weren't going anywhere, but that should leapfrog them over Ivory Coast, depending on what happens between Ivory Coast and Curacao. And they would get second in their group and automatically move on, or at least get third in the group and have a chance to move on. But that highlights a bigger problem with the World Cup, which is I'm sure Germany didn't try today.
Something we'll get into here in just a moment for a sec is the NFL Top 100 series voted on by the players. Really, 2 players a day. Sasha doesn't like how slow it is, but it helps out a show.
It's a leaky faucet.
We'll talk about Creed Humphrey and Carson Schlesinger just in a moment. But let's go to the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines. How are you? You're on KGSO.
Good evening, fellas. And I want to finish your phrase. I think what you meant to say when you came back in, you said something about never fear when you have KGSO. And I think what you wanted to say was never fear when you have KGSO in your ear.
Oh, that's a good one.
You got to complete the rhyme.
Hey, I get it because fear and ear rhyme. Yeah,
I got to start rapping on the radio.
That's good, Anthony.
All right. Just a few things. I planned some things out this week, and Lord, did I know that after I said it to you guys, because y'all probably heard it first from me, I ended up hearing a few things I've mentioned to you guys on National Sports Talk Show Radio, in regards to the Knicks. And, James Dolan talking about he don't want to dip into the second apron. And I said, well, how about the thoughts of a Landry Shamet going to Miami? Lo and behold, I hear one of the guys on Fox Sports Radio make reference to that same thing. Then we got to talking about Brendan Sorsby. And what did I say? How about him going to the CFL? And how about on the next day? As a matter of fact, I think it was on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. They end up echoing those same sentiments. So maybe there may be a little bit of weight to some guy that calls into a radio show and attempts to do a podcast. Maybe there's a little bit of weight to what this guy here in Kansas says.
We should maybe find a cookie for you, Anthony. You want a cookie?
Let's just say...
It's rude, Jacob. That's rude,
all
Jacob.
Heard it first. Hey, let's just say y'all all heard it first right here on Wichita Sports Talk Radio, K230.
You were the man.
FM 93.9, 1410 AM, KGS.
Memorized.
You guys have a great day.
Thanks for the call.
We love it. All jokes.
All jokes. And hey, I was the first one to tell you that Sorsby they probably wouldn't do a supplemental draft, or they might not do a supplemental draft. So lots of breaking news here on the press box.
I could just start talking about some of my greatest predictions here on the show as well, but I'll move off the train here. Let's go to this next call. Here, you are on the radio, sir, on KGSL. What's up?
Hey, we got Big Sexy on the freaking hot takes, man. He's spitting his game nationwide. Let's give it up for Anthony and Big Sexy, KGSO.
Oh, dude. Give it up.
He's got his own cheering section. That's all he wanted to call in and tell us about. Big Sexy.
Man? Why not?
I better not call him Big Sexy because he'll call back and correct me and make sure I know it's Saxy.
Brother, all right, that button was going to come out here at some point. I needed to pull it. All right, top 100. We got about 2 minutes. Rapid fire. You are a Creed Humphrey believer. Look, every time I see Creed's name, I just start rocking out to some Creed music. But hey, the football player, 4 straight Pro Bowls. We know for a center that matters.
Yeah, and listen, he's 94th on the top 100 list, which is doesn't sound that impressive, right? That means 93 guys ahead of him. But last year he was 93rd, and he was still the top center in the league. He was the only center on the list. So I have to presume he'll be one of, if not the only center on the list this year, which means he's basically the best player at his position. It's heady stuff. He allowed 1 sack last year, 8 quarterback pressures all year long. He does a nice job there for the Chiefs.
This goes to show that the NFL needs to put in kind of a requirement almost. Like, hey, if you're going to be one of the guys who fills out your list of 20 players, put someone either of your skill position or who you go up against. And I got to think a lot of the nose tackles, maybe Creed Humphrey's so good, they didn't even want to speak his name like he's Voldemort or something.
They're afraid of him.
Yeah.
They're afraid of him. Hey, listen, Creed's known as one of the strongest guys in the league. He was also an excellent wrestler from what I understand in his youth. So
nice.
Not surprising for a center, right? Those guys are kind of in that mold, I think, most of the time.
Schweschinger, look, the Browns were horrible, but he was awesome. 156 total tackles. Kind of, it's maybe a little bit more often than you would think. A lot of the tackle leaders come from bad teams, but 11 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits, 2 picks. You'll take it.
The bad teams get a lot of plays run against them, and then bad safeties on bad teams are always making tackles.
In college, when broadcasting, our safety was leading FBS in tackles. That goes to show how bad our team was. Yeah, we'll be back. 5 o'clock, comprehensive coverage.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Odd Couple with Rob Parker and Kelvin Washington.
The ups, the downs. We love you, then we hate you. We might hate you for a while even. Yeah. And I say that to say, to me, that's where I think Wemby's starting to fall. I think we've gone from now where it's the Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader.
This is The Odd Couple with Rob Parker and Kelvin Washington.
Evenings on KGSO. And find KGSO on the SC Wichita app.
Come check out the defending champion, Aftershocks, at Charles Koch Arena starting July 20th in the new look TBT. The Wichita State alums will be hosting the New Mexico alumni team as part of a best-of-3 series on the road to TBT's now $2 million prize. Dexter Dennis joins this year's roster of Shocker legends, playing July 20th and 23rd. For tickets, go to tbthoops.com, the Wichita State box office, or listen for giveaways here on this station. And stay tuned for the radio call, The Aftershocks, here on KGSO.
And the match is about to begin.
Most of the team is out with COVID-19, so there'll be some substitutes tonight.
What's this? We have an unexpected guest on the field.
It's a dog, but they could do with extra players.
She's going for the ball.
Are front paws hands or feet?
Soccer season is full of surprises, and COVID-19 could be one of them. If you test positive, prescription medications may help. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Learn more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Wichita Clear Bra, your quality auto spa.
Window tinting, ceramic coating, paint protection film, vinyl wraps, full wraps, clear, stealth, and color. WichitaClearBra.com.
Wichita Clear Bra, your quality auto spa.
Sunshine and savings are here all summer long at Midwest Kia. Happening now. Get an additional $750 off select new Kias during the Summer Sticker Sales Event. That's on top of current specials and rebates. And with summer road trips on the horizon, now's the perfect time to upgrade to the 2027 Kia Telluride Hybrid and get up to 35 miles per gallon. Nothing says family-friendly like spacious 3-row seating and fewer stops at the gas station. Looking for something else? We've got you covered. Explore hundreds of other vehicles ready to drive home today. From the sleek and sporty K5 to the adventure-ready Sportage, there's a Kia for every lifestyle. And summer savings to go right along with it. Plus, every new Kia comes with that unbeatable 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Visit MidwestKia.com. And remember,
We want to see ya in a Midwest Kia.
actual gas mileage may vary. With approved credit, see dealer for details. Warranties a limited powertrain warranty.
At Children's Cancer Research Fund, we believe a world without childhood cancer is possible, but it takes all of us. And whether it's developing a groundbreaking treatment or helping a girl realize her dream, everyone has a role in a child's cancer journey. Just ask researcher Brandon Moriarty about his latest breakthrough, a genetic biomarker treatment.
Children's Cancer Research Fund is a great organization. They provide funding to really dig deep into the research and make more progress. We were able to start a clinical trial that's led by Emily Greengard.
The hope is that these types of therapies are going to be more effective and a lot better tolerated, a lot more safe for the patients.
People ask me how I keep a smile on my face. It's easy when you have so many great people that take care of you, and support you.
To find out how you can be a part of the child's cancer journey and a part of the cure, visit childrenscancer.org. A public service message from Children's Cancer
This
Research
is
Fund.
Wichita's sports station, K230BY, 93.9 FM, 1410 AM, and 99.7 HD3. KGSO Belle Plaine, Wichita. Broadcasting live from the KGSO studios in West Wichita.
I feel more informed when I listen.
This is the Press Box on Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
The Press Box on KGSO.
We are halfway through the Press Box on KGSO, longest running sports talk station here in the greater Wichita area. Jacob Zimmerman, Sasha Bushka here. We got you covered for hour 2 of the show inside the Civic Lands First Council Casino Hotel and Resort Studios. Let's see, we are all over the place. We got live streams on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch TV, and the classic Facebook. Find the streams, comment live, watch them back. And we got the SC Wichita app. Download that sucker. Listen to country music on Hank. Conservative News Talk on KQEM. You got La Raza as well, if you know Spanish. And, of course, the sports station. Listen to us outside of your car, outside of the vehicle, and on your smartphone. Oh, man. Hour 1. We went through the Shocker basketball roster. We kind of went each player. We sort of classified them into different categories of how well we think they're going to do, whether they'll be Conference Player of the Year candidates, all conference honor guys, quality starters, the list, and so on. We had plenty of fun with that. We talked about LaMelo Ball getting dealt. There is a pretty weird story from the draft as it relates to college basketball. Maybe we can catch up on here at some point in the show. And there towards the end of hour 1, yeah, Creed Humprey making that top 100 from the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, Sasha, it is 5 o'clock here on Thursday. Comprehensive coverage series. This is week 4 of doing this, 4th division. And we have our first place team from the 2025 season in the AFC South. It is the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do you think, man? What do you think about the Jags? Give me your opening statements.
Yeah, Jaguars. The story of the Jags last year heading into the season was a little bit like what's going to happen with Travis Hunter? What are they going to do from that perspective? Offense, defense, what's that going to be? And the story maybe of the Jags this year is they've kind of made a decision on Travis Hunter. He's not going to play very much offense. That could bolster their defense more than people think because he was always known as an elite corner coming out. Like that was his true position. So it's almost like they got a top 5 pick at corner this year that they didn't have before. So maybe that makes a difference. And honestly, they went 13-4 anyways last year, even with him getting hurt. So I guess we'll have to see if they can back it up with another stellar performance in 2026.
So let me get this straight. You got Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
He was drafted 2nd overall.
Yes.
You've got Trevon Walker. He was actually a 1st overall pick in 2022.
Yes, he was.
And then you got the 2021 1st overall pick. So you got to think in 2026, 2025, they were good. 2026, they got to be good with that level of talent they're bringing in at the top of the draft. We shall see if it's as thought.
Yeah.
Let's go to last season, guys. Last season, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hey, we talked about the Houston Texans and their win streak to close out the regular season. Guys, the Jags had one nearly quite as good. They went from, at one point, 5-4 after a loss to Houston, and they said, all right, boys, we're going to get ourselves together. And even though there was some nip and tuck victories here against the Colts and the Cardinals, they did steamroll some opponents like the Chargers. You won by 2 touchdowns at Denver. That was very impressive, Week 16. While there was some weak opponents here in this stretch, the Jacksonville Jaguars took full advantage, and Trevor Lawrence reversed the narrative around his career. I was making lots of jokes last season saying, no longer can you pull out the Remember the Titans comparison and say this dude looks like sunshine. He's partly sunny. Now, hey man, it's a nice 80-degree sunny day with Mr. Trevor Lawrence coming off of his MVP voting 5th. He was 5th in the voting, guys, and he was comeback player of the year 4th. So in the running there, look, you come back from missing a couple games, a 2-8 starting season that you had in those 10 games in 2024. Trevor Lawrence shocked us all last season.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence played well, at least down the stretch last season. I don't want to say like Jacksonville's finally built the right team around him, and they finally have the coaching staff in place to take advantage of Trevor Lawrence. He went through the Urban Meyer experience and a lot of different situations there in Jacksonville, and I think their current situation is a lot better than it was before that, right? It was a first-year head coach last year. It was Liam Cohen coming over from Tampa. They're kind of like churning out the coaches right now between Liam Cohen and Dave Canales, both doing well at their respective spots. And I think 13-4 is like a lot to ask for them to do that again. But I think they may have turned the corner to where they're a consistent contender as long as they have Cohen and Trevor Lawrence as their 1-2 punch at coaching quarterback.
Vrabel won Coach of the Year last year. I probably would have given it to Liam Cohen. I know Mike McDonald kind of had the last one in the Super Bowl. He was 3rd, then Johnson 4th. I think Cohen was right up there with Vrabel.
Yeah, the Vrabel he kind of won it running away, but there was a lot of good candidates. I was surprised. Like, I don't know what it was about Vrabel. Everybody wanted him to win it. Maybe Diana Rossini was pumping the narrative.
She had too many votes.
She was pumping the narrative, man.
Man, yeah.
She was out campaigning with her colleagues. Who knows?
You dropped the name just before I could, man. I knew. Oh, what an offseason for the Patriots. But Cohen and the Jags, picking up with them, kind of went through their 2025 schedule. So, look, division-wise, the Texans were right behind them. The Colts a few steps down, and the Titans were a 3-win team. I think we'll see some shakeups at the bottom. And, guys, yesterday, I projected the Texans to go 13-4, so it's going to get interesting here from my perspective with the Jags. Hey, I mentioned those top picks in this decade so far. Let's talk about them a little further here. Because, hey, Trevor Lawrence, he changed the narrative. Travon Walker, I would say he's been underwhelming. 3.5 sacks last season. He does have 2 double-digit sack seasons under his belt in 23 and 24, but in 2025, he just did not get the same rush that he was looking for. He definitely needs to improve. But, guys, Travis Hunter is like a mind-boggling prospect who we've only seen 7 games out of in the NFL. Like him at his peak is a great player in this league. It's a player we've never seen before, right? The mold of a two-way stud. I think it's smart to sort of brush away, kind of dismiss the receiver possibilities now, and then maybe throw him out in some weird packages later on in the season as a 4th or 5th wide receiver.
It's like the Deion Sanders packages, right? When he was on the Cowboys, like he got some touches, right? But he wasn't like a regular part of their offense. That's what they need to do with Travis Hunter. Maybe let him return punts, right? So he gets his hands on the ball that way. But utilize his skill set as a defensive player to the max. And maybe Brian Thomas Jr. has a bounce back season, so you kind of eliminate that need. They also traded for Jacoby Myers last year. He's still on the team. Parker Washington stepped up late in the year. So they don't need Travis Hunter to play receiver, and trying to do both was going to limit his effectiveness at either. So let him focus on his defense and give him a package here and there, and you'll be a lot better off for it.
I'm a little worried with Travis Hunter because I think a guy who is going to get that many touches at 185 pounds and he's getting tackled and then he's having to make tackles, right? It's not like he's the gunner and then is the kicker. It's a physical sport of football. He's involved in a lot more snaps. There's a lot more opportunities to get hurt, and we saw it last season. And then if you kind of think about Colorado, I don't know how you guys feel about Shedeur Sanders. I don't think he's necessarily going to amount to a ton in this league. There is a world where that Colorado 3-game stretch a few seasons ago was pretty overrated. I think Hunter was maybe the best piece of that team, but that whole Colorado Buffalo squad just seemed a little fishy in my eyes. I don't know how Hunter will be as
that might be true about Colorado, but Travis Hunter was always widely considered one of the best players in college football. He was the number one recruit in his high school class when he came out. He just went ahead and played with Deion at Jackson State because he just that's what he wanted to do, and then he went with him to Colorado, and he won the Biletnikoff Award. He won the Heisman Trophy, right? And maybe he shouldn't have, but anyway, you slice it, he would have been a Heisman finalist. So I think Travis Hunter is the real deal. Maybe the whole team wasn't.
Genty maybe should have won it. The fact here with Travis Hunter, I just can't get over this. Look, you drafted a guy that, if this was Madden, right, in a vacuum, in theory, yes, he's going to be the most valuable player because he can maybe grab 5 receptions, 50 yards, and then maybe a couple deflections and a few good tackles in the game. But now it's just you're drafting a defensive back who wasn't even the best defensive back in the country, and you drafted him second overall.
But I think if he was coming out as just a corner, he would have been the first corner taken. I do think that still. I don't know. I do think he would have been. I think he was always a better corner than he was a receiver. I don't think he would have gone number 2 overall because you just don't take a corner that high unless they're elite. But I think he was the best corner in his class. I don't think he was the best receiver in his class. I think he's a better corner than he is a receiver.
I know they're off a year, but sounds like you got Hunter above Mansour Delane.
They're off a year. Right? I'd have to research that a lot more, right? But I think as a prospect, Hunter was talked about maybe more than Mansour Delane coming out. Now, the thing is, they were talking about him as a receiver a lot coming out because that's what got noticed in college because it's the position that has the ball. It's where that was how he won the Heisman Trophy. But if he would have had to just play one position at Colorado, I think that position would have been corner.
All right. Last season, a lot of people missed big in the first round of fantasy football drafts by taking Brian Thomas Jr. What in the world happened? This was a very strange fall off. He still played 14 games, and I know a lot of guys will they're willing to put their stats to the side to win team football. We know these wide receivers.
That's not what it was, though.
Right. Wide receivers love getting the football, man. What happened here?
He was dropping balls. He wasn't getting open. It wasn't about putting the team first. It was about him just playing a lot worse than he had the year before. And I can't tell you what happened. I did not use a first-round pick on him in fantasy, but in my auction league, I had him as an option as a keeper because I took him his rookie year and he was great for me. And so I had to keep him, right, because his value was too good, right? His auction value that I got to keep him for was about half of what he should have gone for. So I had to have him on my team, but it didn't turn out very well.
I was really close to taking BTJ.
He went from 10 touchdowns his rookie year to 2 last year.
The yards were damn near cut in half.
Yeah.
That's putrid. 1282 to 707. I nearly took him in fantasy. I think I took Puka Nacua instead, and that was a massive difference. And thank goodness.
He had less targets last year, but on a per game basis, it wasn't a ton less targets. But his catch percentage went from 65% his rookie year to 52% last year. So just when he was throwing the ball, they didn't connect. Whatever was going on with him and Trevor Lawrence, they weren't on the same page last year.
Maybe this is just a 17-0 team if they get Brian Thomas Jr. back on track.
Nah, I think...
Joke.
Yeah.
But, in theory, if you were going into that season and you said, hey, Liam Cohen is going to flirt with Coach of the Year, you're going to win 13 games, Trevor Lawrence is going to be 5th in MVP voting, you would have said, okay, that means Brian Thomas Jr. has a good season. And then if you said no, you're like, all right, how could this team be if he gets back on track?
Yeah. I don't know if he'll ever reach that production he did as a rookie, but I expect him to have a better year this year than he did last year. He'll be a steal in fantasy drafts this year. Post-type sleeper.
I just think Trevor Lawrence is a little bit too up and down, and you kind of look at the history of the franchise. You go in waves of losing, guys. Like I remember a David Gerard doing nice stuff with the Jags back in 2007, and then they didn't win double-digit games again until 2017. You won 10, and then they didn't win double-digit games again until 2025. Like every 10 years, the Jags are having a nice season.
Yeah.
Like odds are, historically, they roll out an 8-win football team this coming year.
They could definitely take a step backwards, right? It just depends on whether you think Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen have staying power. I don't expect them to win 13 games. We'll get to the wins here in a second, but I don't expect them to fall off the planet either.
All right, let's go to X Factors.
Yeah.
You lost ETN.
Yeah.
Travis. He's gone. And Bashal Tootin. That's a name for you. He is my X Factor for the season because I'm seeing him potentially as the starting running back. And, yeah, you want to hold on to him. I think he's going to be a guy where if he all of a sudden is out of the lineup, it could get really bad. You're talking about guys maybe like LaQuint Allen Jr. Who? So, yeah, you got to get decent production at a Tootin, filling in some holes.
No, I agree, right? That's the number one pick, right, in terms of X Factor for the Jaguars offense because they let Etienne go in favor of him, and they let
Bigsby?
They let Bigsby go the year before, or they traded him before last year because of Tootin. So they're putting a lot of eggs in the Tootin basket, so to speak. I'll go, if we got to go to another guy, Brenton Strange would be an easy pick. He just signed an extension.
Sure did.
But I'll go Jacoby Myers. They traded for him mid-year last year. He got acclimated pretty quickly, and now with a full offseason under his belt, we'll see what he can do. I think if you're the Jags, you hope he's your number 2 receiver because you hope Brian Thomas Jr. goes back to being your number 1. But Jacoby Myers, they want him to have a good year as well.
Jacoby Myers is pretty underrated. I'll give him that. You got a Josh Hines-Allen here in this defense. We hit on some of that top pick talent. And Eric Armstead. A few seasons ago, he was in San Francisco, if you've heard the name. Outside of that, not too many household names.
Foyesade Aloakin's underrated, right? He's a tackle machine. He disrupts plays. He even gets some interceptions here and there. And I'll go back to it, but like if Travis Hunter can play great defensive football, that's an addition that they didn't have to go get in free agency or get out of the draft from this year that they basically didn't have last year.
All right, let's go to the schedule. Let's make some record predictions here for the Jags and our comprehensive coverage moving through the offseason. All right, you've got, this is just before the bye week. Denver, New England, Cincinnati, Philly, and Houston. And
yeah, that's tough.
Since you are the overseas Jags, you have back-to-back neutral site games, weeks 5 and 6. Oh, no. 8:30 a.m. starts. This is, they're going to be the London Jags here at a certain point.
The London Jags, man, I like that. Yeah, they go over there a lot, so at least the people in London know them. They have some fans over there. They get to start out with Cleveland, so that should be a dub. But after that, it is a pretty tough stretch before the bye week, those first 6 games, especially with Philly and Houston. Technically, I gave them wins in both of those, but I failed to see the asterisk, so I was thinking like home games. With those both being in London, that's probably more likely a split, but I'll still stick with my record prediction that I came up with. I have them doing pretty well before the bye and decent after. I have them losing 3 more games than last year. I got them at 10-7, which makes Houston the division winner because I had them 1 game higher. So I'm lower on Houston than you, but I still have them winning the division.
We are going to be slightly off here on the Jags, but I think there is going to be a step back from Jacksonville. It's just the inconsistencies. Yes, like you could maybe spin it to me. I think we do have a Jags fan somewhere in the KGSO area who was calling a lot late last season. Sorry to tell you. I do have you going 9-8. you're going to be a contender for the wild card. I think you probably start 2-4 before the bye, and then you're going to need to rally. I think you're going to probably want to sweep Indianapolis, definitely Tennessee, and then it could get interesting. Like, you get mixed bags teams here at the end of the season: Chicago, Pittsburgh, Dallas, and Washington. All 4 of those teams could be above 500. 3 of them could be below 500. I think that's going to be a huge stretch, weeks 14 through 17, and then you're in Indianapolis for what could be a pivotal game at the end of the season. If we see Danny Dimes, that's going to be tough. If we see like a wounded Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, my goodness, that's chalk as a win. So I got Jags at 9-8. You got them at 10-7.
Yeah, and I felt like I was kind of underselling them at 10-7 with the 13-win season last year, but Vegas over/under on them is 8.5. Right, they have them right at 500. There's some books that have 9.5, but 8.5 slightly juiced towards the over. But yeah, I think that's probably fair, right? You start them at 500, they could go plus or minus a couple either way. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and go plus a couple, right, to 10 wins. But that's Vegas was not sold on last year's performance. And by the way, Houston is a pretty clear-cut favorite to win this division. Like, it's not huge, but they're almost even money to win the division. And then it goes Jacksonville, Indy, Tennessee way behind.
Damn, Vegas. I'm pretty surprised to hear that. A little bit of disrespect if you're down in Florida, man.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought there was no way I was picking the over.
It's a Jacksonville stigma. Yeah, you're slightly over, depending on which book you're at.
That has to be historic for a team that finished arguably 5 wins above their projection for the next season in Vegas. And they didn't lose a starting quarterback. They didn't lose their coach. That's got to be history. Has to be.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? They not getting a ton of respect in Vegas.
Jay, the way Brits pronounce Jaguar sounds better anyway. I got to look that up, Jay. Appreciate the comment.
This segment of the Press Box is brought to you by Wichita Clear Bra, the ultimate car care and protection. Online at wichitaclearbra.com.
The Press Box on KGSO.
This is The Herd.
You got to be consistent.
With Colin Cowherd.
Mic check. People forget that Michael Jordan, first 3 series in the NBA playoffs, lost all of them. Wemby is 22. He just faced a smart, veteran, well-coached, physical Knicks team. Shocking. It didn't go particularly well.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays at 11 a.m. right here on KGSO and on the SC Wichita app.
Come check out the defending champion Aftershocks at Charles Koch Arena starting July 20th in the new look TBT. The Wichita State alums will be hosting the New Mexico alumni team as part of a best of 3 series on the road to TBT's now $2 million prize. Dexter Dennis joins this year's roster of Shocker legends playing July 20th and 23rd. For tickets, go to tbthoops.com, the Wichita State box office, or listen for giveaways here on this station. And stay tuned for the radio call The Aftershocks here on KGSO.
Fire sale at the Black Friday Deals and Discount Store on 47th and Broadway. Truckloads of brand new items from Amazon, Walmart, and Target. But for just $10, nearly everything in the store is on sale for just $10 Friday and $7 on Saturday. Electronics like controllers, laptops, headphones, just $10. Name brand clothing and shoes, Stanley Cups, accessories, all kinds of household items, just $10. Come check out the brand new Ashley furniture for discount price. 120 days, same as cash, $5 down. So don't break your budget and shop today at the Black Friday Deals and Discount Store.
When you think fine dining with high-quality meat, you need Champs Meats. Champs Meats provides only the highest quality of meat from trusted local farmers and offer any variety of meats, from pork,
wild game,
and the mouth-watering experience of Wagyu beef.
The king of beef.
Nothing beats that melt-in-your-mouth true beef flavor with that juicy, tender texture than Wagyu beef.
Champs Meats also does processing for local hunters and farmers.
From proper cuts to proper sourcing to the best in variety of meats, it's Champs Meats. 135 North Main Street in Halstead, online at champsmeats.com and find them on Facebook.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had life insurance. Ethos made it so easy. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. 100% online, no medical exam. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the space to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
This is The Herd.
You got to be consistent.
With Colin Cowherd.
Mic check. James Dolan is not for bringing the band back together next year. I agree with Dolan. He doesn't want to get caught up in what they call the second apron. Folks, the Celtics and the Thunder over the last couple of years won a title, brought everybody back, and didn't reach the finals again.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays at 11 a.m. right here on KGSO and on the SC Wichita app.
This is the Jason Smith Show.
Check this out.
Pay attention. With Mike Harmon.
The home field advantage for the United States in this World Cup is immeasurable. Yes, the World Cup is here. We haven't had it since 1994. Like we all knew. Everybody knew. Yes, big deal, big deal. But you see how crazed Lumen Field was. You saw the watch parties that have been everywhere. This is an advantage that I can't believe I didn't take enough of this into account, that this was going to be such a big deal for the United States, because you could see the energy carrying them through. You see the extra jump they have. You see that teams like Australia on their heels, Portugal on their heels. Everybody else is playing on a neutral field. Everybody else playing neutral field. We are playing in the biggest home field advantage that I have seen in the World Cup.
You're listening to Jason Smith with Mike Harmon.
Overnights with Jason Smith here on KGSO. KGSO Studio presented by Seven Clans Casino, Hotel and Resort. It pays to cross the line. Wichita's home for sports talk, going 20 years strong. This is KGSO.
Alrighty, we're back to the press box here in your spot for sports in the ICT KGSO. We've been talking some shockers today. We hit on the NFL comprehensive coverage, talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars today. It's been a great show, but I want to keep the college basketball themed segment going. We'll hit on a few other things with Paul Suellentrop joining us now, the senior communicator from Wichita State University on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines. Paul, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Not a problem at all. So I kind of came up today. I was thinking, man, it's kind of a slow time in the sports world. I want to force a local segment onto the show. But hey, all relevant stuff here when you're talking at Shocker Hoops in Wichita. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to go through and sort of assign like expectations to these players in the form of tiers, and kind of how we broke it down is Conference Player of the Year candidate, similar to like a Kenyon Giles this past season. You got production, you're like a top 3 guy, maybe all conference first team, you're in that discussion. And then like an all conference honors level, whether you're honors or second or third team. Then I got a quality starter category. I got a fringe starter / good bench guy, an end of rotation piece, and then a program building block. Paul, I'm not going to ask you to remember this all, but we'll kind of go player by player here just to start, maybe hit on some of the bigger guys and kind of ask you maybe what your take is or what the program expectation is for some of these players. And let's start with TJ Williams, man. Do you see TJ Williams as a guy with some offseason development? Maybe you could flirt kind of with an all-conference recognition, right? Maybe third team. I think with what he showed us late in the year, second half, I got to think maybe that's a potential trajectory, maybe just a quality starter here in the American. But tell me a little bit about what you're seeing with TJ, what you think the approach is going to be for his game plan, his goals going into the season.
Without question, a starter and a good starter. I think he proved that last year. If you're talking about making another step up or half step up to kind of all-conference kind of guy, I think that would depend on probably got to improve his offense, and that will be interesting from a standpoint. We've talked about it with some of the additions in the backcourt. Will they be able to take better advantage of TJ's skills, cutting to the basket, scoring inside, getting to the line? I know he's working on his three-point shot. Everybody works on their three-point shot, especially in the summer. If he can add some diversity in that way, while continuing to be a good defensive player, a good rebounder, then certainly we know he's going to play a lot. And maybe getting a few jump shots to fall could be the difference between a B season and an A+ season, something like that.
Yeah, I'll go to a guy that kind of gets lumped in with TJ. That's Dylan Battie, and they get lumped in together because they basically they played the same position last year. They both played the 4, and they kind of subbed in and out for each other. And part of the season, TJ Williams was starting. Part of the season, Dylan Battie was starting. And so I'll frame it this way: we can get some thoughts specifically on Dylan Battie, but I would ask what the progress is towards maybe those guys both being able to play together and being, if they're both going to be in the quality starter / conference honors type category, then that would require them to play together more, or especially if they're both starters. Do you think that's something we'll see this year?
I think so, and I guess I would caution people as to, what have I seen? I mean, I dip in and out of practice, and I'll watch 15 minutes here and watch a little pickup basketball and things like that. So, and sometimes June basketball can be dramatically different from November, January, March basketball. So having said all that, boy, when you watch Dylan Battie, especially at different times, you catch him in the right day or the right sequence, and he can really stand out. He will take 3-pointers, and it looks good. It looks natural. It looks like he is confident, wanting to be taking it. Now, the famous example would be Kenny Poto winning the 3-point shooting contest at the Shocker Madness as a freshman, and then was never really a threat from 3-point range after that. So, having all those caution, I'm very interested in Dylan Battie, and I think he's got the potential to do a lot of things that maybe he did not do last year.
All right, I want to hit on a pretty interesting player. And look, it's very easy to recognize around Wichita if you happen to run into a Will Berg, because he's 7'2", 265, Sweden's finest Purdue transfer. Look, we saw Will Berg in this system last year for Paul Mills, 6th man of the year here in the American. But to be honest with you, Paul, I don't even know if the 6th man of the year award really accurately depicts how good Will Berg was last season. And so I'll frame the question this way. What is the ceiling with Will Berg? And I think the biggest determination, that the biggest factor, is his minutes played, is his cardio. Kind of tell me a little bit about what would go into Will Berg reaching his ceiling in your eyes. And is his ceiling like a first-team all-conference guy? Is that possible?
Oh, I think that's definitely possible. And we know how those voting works a lot. Name recognition can be important, and the Shockers are going to start out, ahead in there with 10 guys coming back, and Will be a known quantity. No doubt about that. He will be a target of a lot of defenses trying to keep him from scoring and trying to keep him off the backboards. For Will, I think you nailed it. It's a great point. The in conditioning, the endurance. He did not play heavy minutes when he was at Purdue, so last year was really a step up for him in that. He averaged 20 minutes a game. I would guess that went up as the season went on, so that'll be important. Not easy. That's a big body to be running up and down the court, especially when the Shockers like to play fast. So we'll see how many minutes he plays. I'm sure it will bump up some. Has to stay out of foul trouble. With Will, I guess I would target free throw shooting. He had some really good moments. I think he improved throughout the year, ended up shooting 70% from the line. And if he can shoot 75% from the line, boy, then you're talking about a player who is, even more productive than he was last year.
Yeah, and I think he has the stroke, like the capabilities there for him to kind of improve at that level. We talked about some returners, all three of those returners that we had in kind of like the all-conference level potential players. And then, so I'll go to a couple of newcomers. Friesen and Jahari Long. We had we labeled Friesen as like an all-conference honors level guy, maybe flirting with being maybe one of the best players on the team, which would, as a first-place AAC contender, that would obviously put him in the Conference Player of the Year level. We had Jahari Long as a potential quality starter. What do you see the role of those two guards being, maybe compared to what our guards did last year?
It appears to me, and again, we're 3 or 4 weeks in, they're doing a lot of individual stuff now. You don't see them in team stuff a whole lot, although they do some of that, and they play pickup. I think they're going to work really well together. Both of them are ball handlers. Both of them are good passers. They appear to be able to get into the paint and then make good decisions. I really enjoyed watching Jahari Long. Jordan he sat out a little bit a few weeks ago. I haven't seen him as much. I think he had some kind of minor ailment, but he's been back in there recently. Jahari I guess it's been described, he's got that old man YMCA game where he just plays at the pace that he wants to play, knows where to go, and there's one play that's stood out as I've been watching here and there. He and Will Berg, I think it was a pick and roll. Will was cutting down the lane, and Jahari had the ball on the other side of the lane and picked up the ball, and instead of throwing it when Will was maybe halfway open, he just had that hesitated just a beat, held the ball, and Will came even more open, was ready, took the pass, scored. And it was a really nice, just a nice example of an experienced guy who can pass the basketball.
Paul, I'll go ahead and ask you this, a final Shocker basketball related question before we get to some other news here with Wichita State. I did want to hit on this at some point in the show. We've yet to mention Jaron Pierre Jr. He was drafted in the NBA, pick 58 out of SMU, but he played at Southern Miss. He played at Jacksonville State. He played at Wichita State from 2022 to 2023. I'd yet to show up here. This was the season before I came out to Wichita, but he did average 11 points per game in the Isaac Brown era. Tell me what you remember from Jaron Pierre Jr.
Talented, a little bit out of control as a younger player, but you could see the talent. I would not have expected him to go into the NBA, but of course I have not seen him a whole lot since he left Wichita State. I knew he had success at both of those stops, and then when you get to SMU and play in the ACC and do what he did, then you could very easily be on track to play in the NBA or to get drafted in the NBA. So good for him. Yeah,
good for him. The term, it was applied to another player. We used to hear the term Machine Gun Willis a lot, and that kind of came to mind with Jaron Pierre Jr. sometimes, I felt like. But I'm glad he developed and got drafted. Got drafted last night. That's good for him. I know Jay-Z said we're going to switch off Shocker basketball a little bit, but I do just real quick want to ask about the schedule and the non-conference schedule, how that's shaping up. I know I'm looking at it right now. There's 3 pretty quality games on there right now. You've got 2 in Kansas City with K-State and Drake, and then you've got a home game against Boise State and the opener against Cal State Northridge at home. What's the prospect? Like, how does that shape up? When would we expect to see more games popping onto that list of games for the non-conference?
I would think throughout the summer. I have not heard anything or seen anything more concrete than those games, but I would think seems to be a good start. And then I would, I'm sure they will fill in. I'm sure several of those will be the bye games that that every program that can afford them plays. So I'm sure you'll see some of those to load up on home games and get yourself some opportunities to play and experiment in front of the fans. But I would think as the summer progresses, we will hear more about that.
All right, Paul, something I wish I could do, and this goes across sports, but for this discussion here, I wish I could hop in a time machine and go back to the early to mid 1950s and watch myself some Cleo Littleton. Cleo Littleton, Shocker legend. Tell me a little bit about what you want to say here. I know you had something prepared. The floor is yours, Paul.
Yeah, Cleo passed away, I think, the end of May, and they had a memorial service for him earlier this week. Obviously, just a fabulous basketball player and really a pivotal figure in Shocker history. You know, he came here with Ralph Miller from Wichita East after winning a state title there in 1951. And when he arrived on campus, Wichita State was still making that transition after World War II, as a lot of schools did, from the small college ranks. They joined the Missouri Valley Conference a few years previously to that. They're playing downtown at the Forum, which seated about 4,000 people. And by the time Cleo left, they were sold out, and they were making plans to build what is now Charles Koch Arena. So he was really got him to the NIT in 1954, which at that point was a big deal, largely close to being on par with the NCAA tournament. So a lot of that credit goes to Cleo. He had Paul Scheer and many teammates also, and Coach Ralph Miller. But Cleo was definitely a pivotal figure and stuck around Wichita, was a mentor to a lot of people, a businessman, and just really, really well respected. It was great to be at the memorial service, hear his family talk about him, hear his friends talk about him. I think he is, just a well-regarded person in the history of Wichita.
Yeah, Cleo Littleton obviously is a name that people see up in the rafters and know about because of that. There was another Shocker legend that played in the NBA that passed this week, from my understanding. And if you have a few words about Gene Wiley as well.
Right, Gene Wiley kept a much lower profile than Cleo Littleton. Cleo was well known around town, and Gene was from Texas. Came to Wichita, University of Wichita, to play for Ralph Miller also. I think he was here 59 through 62, and then played on some of those great Lakers teams with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, the ones that kept running into the Bill Russell Celtics. So he made it to, I think, 2 NBA finals. Started at center, was a great rebounder, great shot blocker, but really was more interested in painting. When he got done with basketball, he became a professional painter and graphic artist in Los Angeles. Bought his mom a house here in Wichita in 1965, so a lot of his family is here. I talked to his sister yesterday. She lives in Wichita. Talked to his brother. People may recognize his name, Bobby Wiley. He was a police sergeant in Wichita for many years. And then Gene moved back here from Los Angeles, I think, in the early 90s, and was more of his family described him as quiet and reserved, but loved to paint. And another really important figure. The Shockers were, under Ralph Miller, were kind of average-ish team, had winning records in the late 50s, and then when he arrived, he was part of the group that kind of bumped them up a little bit. They went to the NIT in 62, and then that paved the way for Dave Stallworth and Nate Bowman and another move forward.
Yeah, we love the wealth of knowledge that you have on the history with Shocker Athletics, Paul. We appreciate you coming on and sharing some of that with us today, for sure.
Well, hopefully that's part of my job. It's a treat to be able to remember these guys and talk to their family, and I think those writing the obituaries are hopefully an important part of my job, to let them educate people and let their families know that their contributions are remembered.
The Shocker savant, Paul Suellentrop, senior communicator there at WSU. Hey, you got the Roundhouse podcast. Who's next? Real quick, 10 seconds.
Talked to Xavier Bell today, and the podcast is out. He's back from playing professionally over in Europe, so we chatted about that and a lot more.
Love it. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
Call the Press Box now on the Maximum Outdoor Equipment phone lines at 522-1410.
The Press Box on KGSO.
Want to hear more of KGSO? Don't forget to download our app today. Fill out weekly surveys, register to win great prizes, listen live, message our shows, and so much more. Plus, get reminders of special programming and games you don't want to miss. Just find SC Wichita in your app store and make KGSO your new favorite app. It's Wichita's Sports Talk, right on your phone. Download the SC Wichita app today with Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
American value for American values. It's the deal of the year at Rusty Eck Ford. Happening now. Get employee pricing on brand new Fords. Yep, you heard that right. Employee pricing on brand new Fords. Save thousands of dollars on the F-150, Maverick, Mustang, Bronco, Explorer, Escape, and more. You pay what we pay. So hurry into Rusty Eck Ford and save on your next ride. Visit rustyeckford.com. Family owned for over 70 years and simply the best place to buy. See dealer for details.
Welcome to Halligan's second location. Halligan's is now open at 1106 South Seneca in Wichita. It's the same great Halligan's experience that you know and love,
but now bigger and better than ever.
Whether you're meeting friends after work,
enjoying dinner with the family,
or just looking for a night out, Halligan's delivers great food, cold drinks, and a fun, welcoming atmosphere. Stay for the live music and karaoke, or kick back on our spacious outdoor patio and see why Halligan's is quickly becoming Wichita's favorite neighborhood gathering spot. Halligan's Wichita, 1106 South Seneca. Be happy, behave, or be gone.
Attention Kansas voters, this is an important reminder from the Office of the Kansas Secretary of State. Beginning this year, Kansas elections will not include a 3-day grace period. All ballots must be received by the close of polls on Election Day to be counted. If you plan to vote by mail, return your completed ballot as soon as possible. You may also return your ballot in person to your county election office. Please visit votekansas.gov to access your mail ballot application.
Sponsored by the Office of the Kansas Secretary of State and aired in cooperation with this station.
20 years of sports talk, and we're still not done. This is Wichita's sports station, KGSO.
Mind over matter, doesn't matter to any of us. Don't change the subject, I'm heavy on your love. Lost that train, New York City, erase. Fly to East LA in big jet planes. You know you're on my mind. And if the world don't break, I'll be shaking it. 'Cause I'm a young man after all. And when the seasons change, will you stand by?
Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
What?
It ends.
Oh, man. A lot of different things we can complain about. I'll tell you what. To satisfy your brain, to satisfy potentially your craving. Look, the saying goes, you're not you when you're hungry. I got another saying in the food world.
Taco Tico, Taco Tico.
It's all about the taste. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. 10-pack sale of tacos for $10.99 at Taco Tico. Don't forget about the limited time wonton tacos. 3 for $4.99. The Sasha approved wonton tacos. 13th and Tyler, 35th and Rock Road, Arc City, Newton, El Dorado, Derby, Augusta. Online orders, tacotico.us, where it's all about the what?
Well, it's all about the taste. We know that. It's all about
What's
the taste.
The well?
Just pointing out that it's obviously all about the taste.
Full of water. All right. Let's get to this interesting piece of news, man. I had this down on the rundown. Not sure if I mentioned it too much, but I saw another one of those headlines that kind of relates to the messiness, where players can't decide if they are an amateur or if they're a professional. And I don't think the Clippers necessarily knew either. This is a Frenchman, Narcisse Ngoy. He has decided he is going to return to Auburn instead of playing for the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, guys, here's the problem. He was drafted by the Clippers last night. one of the last picks in the draft. And we know, hey, sometimes these later picks 50 through 60, we don't necessarily hear a lot about them, right? They get cut. They maybe have a run in summer league. Maybe they're on a two-way contract. And then maybe now in this day and age, players are trying to go back to school. I don't like this. I really don't.
Yeah, it's garbage.
I don't like it from the NBA perspective. I don't like it from Auburn's perspective either. I don't know if there's a singles perspective that I like it from, unless I was a family member of, how do you even say this name? Ngoy? Yeah.
So I will say this, because I'm reading about it right now. It's a draft and stash move for the Clippers. So I think they kind of knew because they now own his draft rights whenever he does turn pro. And I guess with overseas projects, he was automatically made eligible for the draft because of his age. He turns 22 before the next season begins. So it's not like he went out and said, I want to go in the draft, and then, he didn't get drafted by the team he wanted, so he's like, I'm going back to college now. It was like an automatic mechanism because he's an overseas player. So I don't hate it as much as I thought I was going to hate it, especially since it's not really him doing it, and the Clippers will still own his rights moving forward. Because we've seen this with international players in the past, but before, not a lot of international players were coming to college basketball, so we'd see them get drafted and then stay and play with their overseas teams. So it wasn't as noticeable to fans in the U.S. because we're not watching overseas basketball.
On social media, high school players, portal guys, they make a social media post, right? And it's like, hey, I'm going to this team. They got the jersey swap, or maybe they've already worn the threads themselves and they're posting that photo. And then there's maybe like a description. I've accepted an offer to go here, or maybe you see, there's trade rumors with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you see Giannis like with the CGI edit, right? And boom, Photoshop. You got a Miami Heat uniform on him. I've never seen this to where you have the Photoshop Clippers jersey, but yet his statement, I'm thankful for the Clippers' confidence in me. I fully intend to honor my commitment to Auburn University.
Yeah, and so to be clear, he was the MVP of the French Elite 2 League this past season. He averaged 10 points and 11 rebounds, or about 11 and 12 actually, 3 blocks a game. But the Clippers drafted him knowing that he was on a college roster. It's because of his overseas status that he was automatically made eligible for the draft. So this is not an example of a player trying to circumvent the system or anything like that. Everybody knew what was going on when they drafted him. So I'll back off my garbage stance a little bit. Maybe
circumvent the system. They're putting him on that Kawhi Leonard Tree Company contract. Maybe that's what he's going to be making.
The bigger question is should he be able to play in college after having played professionally since he was 17 and now being 22? Because he's been playing at French professionally in France since he was 17. That used to be a no-go. Now all of a sudden it's a go.
Well, wasn't Wembanyama playing pro ball in France?
Yeah, and then he came straight to the NBA. But the point is, they used to not be able to play professionally overseas and then come to college, and now they can. Because it used to be if you made any dollars playing professionally, playing basketball, then you were no longer eligible to be an NCAA player.
I've even got something else to mention here. It's been a big basketball heavy show today. Can I get you to bark up the WNBA tree here for just a moment, guys? Caitlin Clark, she there's quite the image.
She was choked yesterday.
From that game. Yeah, not good. Not good. Alyssa Thomas, quote unquote, recklessly, according to certain news outlets that really don't even cover sports. I guess there was kind of a fist, and she kind of used the fist to press off of Caitlin's throat and get herself back up onto her feet. And this WNBA stuff, guys, let's face it. Like you see the news outlets that are covering stories like this. There seems like there's extra motive behind it. Like I'm seeing like Fox News jump into this. Like hold on. Like let's leave the WNBA to the WNBA, not make it like a greater societal thing. But the WNBA themselves, I'm glad we saw a 1-game suspension for Thomas. I think they have a problem with, hey, you invested a lot of money into growing this league, paying players paying players. There we go. The likes that we've never seen them make, right? Like Asia Wilson is going to rack up a couple $1 million by the time she's done playing. Caitlin Clark, the same thing. You're taking a big investment, a big hope on the future. If Caitlin Clark gets taken out by other WNBA players and we continue to see her career marred by injuries, it'll be a joke on the WNBA themselves, not really realizing, hey, we're going to be in dirty water here. We're going to be in debt in the future if our own players take out our superstar who's supposed to help grow the game.
The WNBA, they have no clue what they're doing, right? They're like, yeah, we'll pay the players a bunch more money. Well, there's no extra interest in the league, so you were losing money before. Now you're going to lose a bunch more money. They did a 30-year commemorative poster for the 30 years of the WNBA, and they put Paige Beckers and Angel Reese on it, but Caitlin Clark wasn't on it. She's by far your most valuable, most marketable asset. You're tripping all over yourself at every turn. Their commissioner is garbage. Like they do not know what they're doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of jealousy, and that's no surprise at all. Like this was going to be the reality for Caitlin Clark, despite all the extra money that's in the players' pockets. They would rather throw Caitlin Clark to the floor than admit any of that. And, yeah, the Angel Reese stuff, I mean, the Chicago Sky giving up on her says a lot.
Yeah, before you choke her out, just remember she's the reason you can afford rent now.
She's the reason you're not flying, like, public flights.
Right.
Gals.
Back row of Southwest Airlines.
Oh, Friday. It'll be a good show. Until then, The Odd Couple. They got you covered.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Odd Couple with Rob